There is a moment in every chosen one's life, a moment so quiet yet so powerful that everything begins to shift. Not on the surface, not in the material world, but in the deepest layer of your reality. It's the moment when your third eye begins to open. And if you felt it, you already know what I'm about to say. You begin to see things, not hallucinations, but patterns. You begin to hear things, not voices, but truths. And the world around you begins to respond, as if it's been waiting for you to notice it all along. Numbers repeat. Songs speak directly to your thoughts. People appear at the exact moment you think of them. You feel watched, not in fear, but in awe. You are no longer just living in the world. You are interacting with something bigger, something alive, something intelligent. This is the beginning of synchronicity. And it's no coincidence. It happens because your inner eye, your divine faculty of perception, is finally waking up. I remember the first time it happened to me. I had just come out of a deep meditation. It wasn't guided. It wasn't planned. I had just reached a point of surrender where my mind stopped chasing and my body finally let go. And in that stillness, I saw for the first time, not with my physical eyes, but with something else. Something older. Something wiser. I saw a pattern, a web, a dance of reality that had always been there. And suddenly, the world around me began to echo what I saw inside. A friend I hadn't heard from in years texted me with the exact phrase I had just whispered to myself moments before. A book I had forgotten about fell off a shelf, opening to a page that answered a question I hadn't even asked aloud. These were not accidents. These were alignments. And that's when I realized the universe is not silent. It's just subtle, until we learn to see. But why does this happen after the third eye activates? Why do synchronicities increase the moment we begin to spiritually awaken? The answer is both mystical and deeply logical. The third eye, also known as the pineal gland, is not just a symbolic center of intuition. It is a literal gateway between your perception and the quantum field. When closed, you operate on a limited bandwidth. You see what is obvious. You react to what is visible. You live in a cause and effect world where everything seems random or explainable. But the moment the third eye begins to open, your bandwidth expands. You start to perceive beyond the surface. You start to notice the energy behind the events. You begin to feel the sacred architecture behind the chaos. And that's when synchronicity starts to flood your life, not because it wasn't there before, but because now you can finally see it.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Let me ask you something, and take your time to answer this in your soul. What would your life look like if everything happening around you was part of a hidden conversation with the universe? What if every person you meet, every number you see, every delay or detour was all part of a divine echo responding to your inner frequency? Would you still call it a coincidence? Or would you start listening more carefully? This is the reality of the chosen one. We are not meant to live in the shallow layers of life. We are designed to hear the music beneath the noise. And that music is made of synchronicities. Now, when your third eye activates, you don't just see more, you feel more. Your entire nervous system becomes a tuning fork for subtle energy. You begin to sense what others cannot. You feel when someone is lying without needing facts. You know when something is about to happen before it does. You walk into a room and instantly understand the emotional weather. This isn't magic. This is heightened perception. And perception is the foundation of synchronicity. Because when you are truly present, you begin to align with the present moment in such a way that time itself begins to bend around your awareness. You'll think of someone and they'll call. You'll need something and it will appear. You'll ask a question and the answer will arrive in the most unexpected form: a stranger, a billboard, a sudden insight while brushing your teeth. The universe becomes an echo chamber of your inner world. And the more integrated your awareness becomes, the louder those echoes get. People often ask, is the universe speaking to me? Or am I just imagining things? And I say this, what if your imagination is the language the universe chose to speak through? What if the idea isn't to separate the spiritual from the physical, but to realize they were never separate to begin with? Your thoughts are not just chemical reactions, they're signals. Your feelings are not just moods, they're messages. Your dreams are not just stories, they're blueprints. And when your third eye opens, you stop treating these things as random. You start treating them as sacred. And the more sacred you treat your life, the more sacred your life becomes. But here's where it gets even more profound. When we as chosen ones begin to trust the synchronicities, we enter the phase of co-creation. That means we're no longer just observers, we're participants. We are not waiting for signs. We are creating the conditions for signs to manifest. Our inner alignment produces outer alignment. If you've ever said, "Why is this happening to me?" you were still asleep. But when you say, "Why is this happening for me?" you're waking up. And when you say, "What is this trying to show me?" you're in the dance. And the dance is real. I want to ground this with practical truth. If your third eye is activating, you might be experiencing a lot of discomfort, head pressure, vivid dreams, emotional purging, waves of anxiety with no clear source. This is normal. Your inner perception is recalibrating. Imagine you've lived in a dark room your whole life, and someone suddenly opens the curtains at noon. The light will hurt at first. It will be disorienting. But eventually, your vision adjusts. And when it does, you'll never want to return to the dark. That's what spiritual awakening feels like. That's why synchronicities increase. Because the light is now flooding in, and light reveals patterns. But don't just chase the signs. Integrate their wisdom. If you keep seeing the same number, ask why. What were you thinking when it showed up? What emotion were you feeling? What situation were you navigating? The signs are mirrors. They won't do the work for you, but they'll point you toward the work that matters most. And if you honor them, they'll keep coming. Still, we must address something deeper. With great awareness comes great responsibility. The third eye doesn't just show you beauty, it also reveals illusions. You will see through people. You will see through systems. You will see through the roles you've played. And that can be terrifying, because it means you must change. It means you must let go. It means you must become someone new, someone more honest, more clear, more aligned. Chosen ones often go through a phase of spiritual isolation during this time. You may feel like no one understands you. You may feel like you can't relate to the world anymore. That's not a punishment. That's preparation. You're being recalibrated for a new life. A life where magic is normal. A life where intuition is law. In a life where your inner world becomes your compass and the outer world rearranges itself to match it. Let me ask you something else, something you may not have asked yourself yet. If the universe is always speaking to you, have you been listening? Not just casually, but reverently. Have you taken the time to slow down, to breathe, to feel, to tune in? Or are you still racing through life, asking for signs but ignoring the silence in which they arrive? Synchronicity requires presence. It requires humility. It requires trust. It's not about controlling life, it's about collaborating with it. And the third eye is what opens that door. This is why ancient mystics spent years in caves, in silence, in stillness, not because they were running from the world, but because they were learning how to truly see it. We don't need to live in caves now, but we do need to create space, time away from screens, and time in nature, time in prayer, time in reflection. Because when we slow down, the signs speed up. When we listen, the universe sings. And when we surrender, synchronicity becomes our guide. But there's one more thing you need to know. One more truth that most people don't speak about. Synchronicity is not just the result of third eye activation. It is also the fuel that keeps it open. Every time you acknowledge a sign, you strengthen your inner sight. Every time you follow an intuitive nudge, you widen the channel. Every time you trust the unseen, you deepen your relationship with the divine. This is a feedback loop. The more you see, the more you trust. And the more you trust, the more you see. Until one day, you realize you are no longer separate from the signs. You are the sign. You are the living message. You are the one others were waiting for. And your life becomes a transmission of truth, of light, of vision. That's what it means to be a chosen one. So I leave you with this final question. What is the universe trying to reveal to you right now, in this season of your life? Not in the next book, not in the next video, but right here, right now, in your breath, in your body, in your heart. That's where the signs begin. That's where the third eye sees most clearly. And that's where your next awakening waits. There comes a moment in the chosen one's journey when we stop asking for signs and start realizing we are the sign. We stop chasing synchronicity like it's a magical trick from the universe and begin to understand that it's not happening to us, it's happening through us. And this is where the real shift occurs. This is where the awakened soul becomes the architect of reality. Because when your third eye activates and you begin to see the invisible language of synchronicity, you also begin to realize something far more powerful. The world is not just responding to you. It is reflecting you. Every moment, every symbol, every connection. It's all an echo of your inner state. And that echo is getting louder, clearer, and faster because you are waking up to the fact that you're not just some passive player in this life. You are a conscious creator, a living blueprint, a walking frequency. And when you vibrate in alignment with truth, the universe rushes to meet you. But let's slow down and get real. What does it actually mean to become the architect of reality? It means learning to hold two levels of awareness at the same time. One part of you still sees the world through the lens of form, people, places, events. But another part of you, the deeper, newly awakened part, begins to see the energy behind the form, in the patterns, the codes, the frequencies. And that's when you realize that synchronicity is not just a signpost. It's a tool, a mechanism, a divine response system that tells you, yes, this thought is in alignment. Yes, this decision is opening portals. And yes, this relationship is part of your soul map. Do you understand the power of that? Imagine navigating life not with doubt, but with direct feedback from the cosmos itself. That's what happens when we live through the third eye. And that's what it means to create consciously. Let me ask you something that will either shake you or awaken you, or both. If your thoughts and emotions were creating a ripple into the quantum field in real time, how carefully would you think? How intentionally would you feel? This is not just a philosophical question. This is your reality now. The more awake you become, the faster your manifestations arrive. The more refined your awareness, the more precise your synchronicities. Why? Because you're no longer living on autopilot. You're broadcasting a signal, and the universe is responding instantly. Let's bring science and spirit together for a moment, because they're not separate. Quantum physics shows us that reality is not solid. It's potential. It's vibration. It's waveforms collapsing into particles based on observation and intention. That's not poetry, that's fact. And the third eye? That's your observer. That's your lens into the field of infinite possibilities. So when it's activated, you're no longer just reacting to the world. You're shaping it. Every time you sit in silence and visualize healing, you're altering timelines. Every time you speak truth instead of fear, you're shifting collective energy. Every time you make a decision from intuition instead of ego, you're literally changing the future. And synchronicity? That's the universe confirming it. It's the ping you get when you've just rewritten the code of your life in real time. But here's where it gets interesting. Synchronicity doesn't just show up to confirm your path. Sometimes it shows up to redirect you. Have you ever noticed how certain numbers or signs appear only when you're about to make a decision? Or how strange delays prevent you from doing something that later you realize could have gone terribly wrong? That's not luck. That's divine intelligence. That's the higher self, the soul, the architect within saying, wait. There's a better direction. Trust the reroute. And if you really listen, you begin to live a life that feels almost effortless. Not easy, not without challenge, but guided. You step into flow. And flow is the natural state of a conscious creator. When we're in flow, synchronicity becomes constant. We stop needing to chase outcomes. We become magnets. Opportunities find us. The right people appear. The next steps unfold without force. Why? Because the inner is clear. The signal is strong. The eye is open. And this is critical, flow doesn't happen without alignment. You can't fake flow. You can't manipulate it. You can't force it. You have to become it. And that means taking radical responsibility for your vibration. Let's talk about that, because many chosen ones, after awakening, fall into a trap. They become obsessed with signs, but ignore the state of being that creates them. They want the numbers, the messages, the magical moments, but they don't want to face their shadows. And that's not how this works. The third eye is not a toy. It's a truth detector. It will show you, all of you. The light and the dark, the conscious and unconscious. And if you're not willing to face it, to transmute it, to rise through it, then the signs stop being encouraging. They start becoming warnings, repeats, loops. You'll keep seeing 1111 but feel stuck. You'll keep seeing 444 but feel anxious. Why? Because the signs are saying you're in the right place but you're not doing the inner work. That's the hard pill. But it's also the liberation. So what's the work? What's the actual practice of becoming a conscious creator through third eye activation? It starts with stillness. You cannot see clearly if your mind is noisy. Meditation is not optional, it's survival. Every morning, tune in, go within, visualize your energy, clean your field, ask your higher self to speak, then trust what you feel. Not what's comfortable, not what's popular, what's real. Then take aligned action. That's the formula. Stillness, vision, trust, action, repeat. And every time you do it, the synchronicities increase not because the universe is rewarding you, but because you've matched its frequency. Now let's go further. Because once you start creating consciously, something miraculous begins to happen. Your reality becomes multidimensional. You don't just live in the physical world anymore. You live in layers. You sense timelines. You feel energy. You understand karmic contracts. You see how one small choice ripples across 1,000 futures. This is not fantasy. This is spiritual maturity. And it requires discernment. Not every sign is a yes. Not every synchronicity means go. Some mean pause. Some mean heal. Some mean choose differently. And it's your job, not your gurus, not your friends, not a deck of cards. It's your job to feel the difference. That's what the third eye is for. To perceive nuance and to sense truth. Let me give you a real-world challenge, and I dare you to try this today. The next time a synchronicity shows up, a number, a phrase, a symbol, stop. Breathe. Close your eyes. Ask yourself, what was I feeling just now? What was I thinking? What decision am I avoiding? What truth am I denying? Then listen. The answer will come not in words, but in knowing. And that knowing, that's the real gift of the third eye. That's the wisdom that turns signs into transformation. But we must address the shadow side of synchronicity. Because yes, it's beautiful. Yes, it's magical. But it can also become a trap. It can become a new addiction. A new form of external validation, or a way to escape embodiment. I've met people who could quote every angel number meaning, but couldn't look themselves in the mirror with honesty. That's not awakening. That's avoidance. So I say this with love. Use the signs, but don't worship them. Follow the synchronicities, but don't let them replace your inner compass. The third eye doesn't replace your heart, it amplifies it, and your heart must always lead. So let's bring it home. You are not here to follow a pre-written script. You are here to write it. You are not here to wait for signs. You are here to become one. You are not a victim of fate. You are a sculptor of timelines, and your third eye, that sacred lens of truth, is your tool. It's how you see the unseen, hear the unheard, you know the unknown, and when you live through it, synchronicity becomes your sacred language. The universe stops whispering and starts speaking, and every day becomes a conversation between your soul and the cosmos. So I ask you now, chosen one, are you ready to stop asking for signs and start living as one? Are you ready to stop reacting and start creating? Are you ready to take full responsibility for the reality you're shaping? Because the moment you say yes to that, reality will never be the same again.